A man finally managed to find a package of beef in the supermarket, but it was snatched away by an old man because there were terrifying zombies everywhere, which meant that having food was the only way to survive. The helpless man could only scavenge some of the remaining supplies. However, just as he stepped out of the supermarket door, a police officer suddenly rushed over in a panic and quickly locked the door. Before Jack could react, an infected person charged toward another police officer like a wild beast and attacked him. Jack saw this and quickly dismantled the metal frame to stop him. However, this drew the infected person's attention. Fortunately, the police officer on the ground shot and killed him. At the same time, the police officer inside the supermarket had mutated. He was banging on the glass like a madman. Jack tried to help the police officer on the ground, but the police officer fired a warning shot at him not to come closer. He then aimed the gun at himself. Realizing that the outside world was extremely dangerous, Jack quickly returned home. He reinforced the doors and windows and made protective measures on the walls. Soon, the military began evacuating the uninfected residents of the neighborhood. Since Jack knew how terrifying the zombies were after mutating, the more people there were, the easier it was to get infected. So he decided to stay home and live alone. But the food at home was limited. Soon, the food in the refrigerator would run out. With no other choice, Jack put on his protective gear and went out to find food. But after checking, several households' refrigerators were all empty. Just as he was beginning to lose hope, he suddenly noticed that there was still someone alive in a neighboring house. It turned out that the old woman had been sick and had disabled legs, so she hadn't followed the military to evacuate. Although the old woman's house had no food, she had been observing the situation below from her balcony every day and knew which neighbors had more supplies. With the old woman's guidance, Jack began his search. Not only did they find a large amount of food, but also an off-road motorcycle and a walkie-talkie. They quickly resolved the food issue. Jack urged the old woman to leave the next day. But when the next day came, there was no response from the walkie-talkie. When he arrived at her house, he discovered that the old woman, not wanting to be a burden, had chosen to commit suicide by poisoning herself. Seeing this, Jack could only turn away sadly and head home. However, the next moment, he was tackled to the ground by a zombie on the side of the road. Fortunately, the zombie wasn't very strong, giving Jack a chance to catch his breath. He used the car door nearby to fight back. After that, Jack quickly picked up the fish gun on the ground and shot the zombie, killing it instantly. Realizing that if he stayed here any longer, he would eventually become a zombie himself, Jack hopped on the motorcycle and began his escape. He planned to find a safe place to take shelter. However, the highway out of the city had already been blocked by the military. With no other option, he drove into a small road, but danger immediately appeared. Soon he spotted zombies in the forest. A group of zombies were frantically chasing him. Jack had no choice but to accelerate and race forward. Fortunately, Jack spotted a camp ahead, but this place wasn't safe either. There wasn't a single survivor in sight.